Hey team, Jag here, and welcome to this another episode of or another training of Agency Secrets. Hope you guys are doing really well today. We're going to talk about something different, right? I think today's the day when we're just going to have a chat. Some stuff we're going to have a conversation about. Not all the time. It's a good idea to just talk about how to get more leads or how to get more clients or how to keep them. Today is one of those days. I thought I'd just have a conversation because I'm uh, I'm doing a preparation to as part of the uh, digital marketing mastery certification program. We're starting a marketer's mindset series of things for the next few weeks. So there's going to be volume one, volume two, like that. So we're talking about different mindset stuff. So I think I just want to give you a bit of glimpse of what we're going to be chatting in that series. So that's part of the paid program. But today I just want to have a conversation with you and talk about certain things. Look, one of the things which I really want to talk about today, if you whichever level you at in your life, right? So it doesn't matter where you at. If you're making $20,000 a month, $50,000 a month, or $2,000 a month, doesn't matter where you at. There is a reason for this, right? So if I have to draw a box here, it's the way it works is, and you're sitting in here. If I know how to draw a bit better, yeah. So you're sitting in here, and there is a box around it, right? So meaning that these are the boundaries or the limitations you have in your mind at the moment. So these are the not physical walls, but these are the walls created by our mind. The only way uh, you can get to the next level in your life. The only way I believe you can get to the next level in your business is if you change the way you see things, meaning that these walls need to be shattered, meaning that whatever you believe about certain things, those beliefs need to be shattered, and you need to create new beliefs about certain things, meaning that there is a new boundary wall which get created after the first one deletes itself or removes. So right, so we always have this. So the goal for life is always like create a new belief about certain things. So if you want to be at certain level in your life, in your relationship, in the money you make, the business you have, the clients you get, the only way you can get it is because if you recreate those existing beliefs, right? So meaning that forget what you have learned, and re um, look at the way you see things, meaning that the paradigm of your perspective has to be changed about that. So today we're going to look at that, right? So my talk today is going to be about 20, 20, 30 minutes, right? Depending how far or how long we're going to go for. But it's the idea for today is just to push those boundaries, meaning that you're standing here, just think of that, you're pushing those boundaries with your elbows, and just creating more room for your thinking, right? So some of you things might just not make sense. If that doesn't make sense, just taking an idea and put it in the garbage after that. But for some of you guys, this might be like, holy crap, I never thought of this way. So if you're in that sort of frame that, hey, holy crap, I've never thought of this way, that let me know below in the comments if you're watching the replay, that that what made you think differently by looking at this, right? So let me start by saying this frame, right? If you are a marketer, if you are one of those people who work for somebody else as a marketer or freelancer or a marketing agency helping other people scale their business by giving them leads, by giving them clients, by building their brands, so any sort of those sort of places, um, I believe everything what we do in a marketing is very logical, right? So it's very logically defined, meaning that if you work with us, we're going to give you more leads. So that more leads is a number of leads you can get it to them or give it to them with certain amount of ad spent. Right? If you work with us on certain strategy, we're going to build your brand, and you can actually measure that brand in the marketplace, saying how many people likes the video, how many people are coming through the next step, right? So you can actually measure those steps. So my argument is marketing can be logical for logical people, but people, on the other hand, who buy stuff are very illogical. You and I know that We don't buy things because it is logically making sense to us to buy it, right? So we always buy because of psychological reasons. Then we're going to justify that because of logical reasons. So that's why there is a big mismatch between what you put out there as a marketer and what do you get back in return. Let me give you an example, right? Let me give you an example. See, this is going to start making sense, right? A little bit. So I'm 42 at the moment, right? And my perfect weekend or perfect Saturday night or Friday night would be catching up with the friends, having a couple of drinks, and having conversation, right? And that's how the weekend goes. And I believe that's just my perfect way of looking. This is what I do, right? So, or having a drink and reading a book. That would be my perfect weekend, right? So, but if you speak to somebody who is 18 years old or 20-year-old or 22-year-old, they wouldn't want to sit back and relax and read a book, right? And they want to go out and clubbing, pubs and clubs, dancing. They want to do that. They want to meet more people. And the reason for this is they might be looking for a partner, right? They might be looking for a job opportunities. They might be looking to, hang out with other people or see more people, right? So, but it is very psychological need that they cannot justify logically if they have to ask me. Like, for example, you cannot logically tell me if you go out tonight, logically, that you're definitely going to find your life partner, right? You can't tell me that. But psychologically, you kind of know that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm probably going to find somebody, right? Or I get laid, if depending which part of the which side are you on, right? So logically, it's really hard to say, right? Logically, it's really hard to say, but psychologically, you kind of know that. So for that to happen, you justify logically to your parents, to your friends, to all of the people, right? Sometimes we lie to ourselves because of that as well. Right? Humans do that all the time. We all do that. We lie to ourselves so that we don't have to give psychological reason behind it. Like if you're a parent and you have young kids, young daughter, she won't gonna say that to you. Hey, dad, I'm just gonna go out tonight so I can get laid. Logically won't tell, right? I don't know which culture you're in my culture, no man, none, not going to happen. And I know that in the world, if you're a dad, that's just not going to happen, right? So nobody's going to get say that. So logically she won't tell you that, right? And I believe we marketers stuck so many times with the logic, and we forget on the other side people who are buying our stuff, they don't understand logic, right? They will lie. They will lie to themselves because they don't have any logic. So they'll say to you on the face, I don't have a clients, but they won't tell you why they don't have it. Logically, they will tell you everything. So remember that. We'll lie. Humans will lie because if they don't find any psychological reason to have this conversation with you, they will lie. They'll tell logical things which will make sense to you as a human, but they'll lie about psychological stuff, meaning that they won't tell you what's the reason behind it, right? For example, exactly, the daughter won't say to parents, "Say, hey, the reason I'm going out is because of this," right? But we know that, right? We know that. One of the things I believe, one of the things I believe, um, our schooling system lacking today, or the reason schooling system is not that good, because they forget to talk about three fundamental things what makes us human, right? Three biggest things what makes us human, and we haven't been taught that. We never get taught that. We talked about history. Like every school teaches us about the history. Every school teaches us about the economics, maths, science, and everything is. But what it talks about is everything is very logical, meaning that if you add this chemical with this is what's going to happen. So with the time, when you come out of school, we become a very logical person, right? So because we become a very logical, we believe life started to work exactly this way. And but there are two aspects of our life, or three aspects, which we haven't been taught or never get taught at school. And when we come out of school, we believe that, hey, nobody's got the experience, nobody got the education. We're just trying to find our own way by doing it. One is relationships. We have never been taught at school how to work with other person, unless you leave a school, you leave a university, and then you get a job and you start working with a human being, and then you start to get to interact with those people who are not your not in your relationship, like mom and dad or relatives or any kind of the. You start to interact with those people and start to work with those people, and you never had any relationship with those people, so we haven't been taught. Right? We haven't been taught. And the relationship is something like that. Logically, you cannot define it. You probably know that in the past, logically, it probably would have made sense to go out with certain people. Logically, would have made 100% sense to go out with certain people. But psychologically, you just didn't want to go out with those people because we sort of justify that, hey, that's my gut feeling. I don't want to go out with those people. Logically, we made perfect sense. Parents look at the logic when they're trying to arrange your date with somebody or arrange your marriage with somebody. They logically look at everything. Tick in the box works for somebody, has got a good business or has got a really good job, looks okay, and has got his own car and house. Logically makes sense, right? But psychologically, you don't want to go out with that person, right? And you don't know the reason. You just don't know the reason. You might if you go out and speak to that person a few times, but we don't do that, right? So that's why running a marketing, running any sort of marketing campaign logically would be exactly like this. That, hey, um, I'm going to logically find a partner today, right? So first thing, what we talked about, schools don't teach us is the relationships, right? Relationship with other human beings, and we get taught everything logical, right? Second thing, we never get taught at school is about money, right? So we never get taught about money. The how to make money, how to keep money, how to manage your funds, or anything like that. We've never been taught, right? So when you come out of the university system, when you come out of the school or anything, then you make money, and then you like, holy crap, I'll go out and spend all the money, and then you realize you don't have anything left when you don't have a job. Then you have to go back and ask your mom and dad again, hey, can I have something? So there's nothing been taught, right? So these things haven't been taught. We believe that, if I make $3,000, and I just got to go out and try and find ways to spend that $3,000. Right? That's how we look at it. Okay, now I made $3,000. Now let me go out, find ways to spend $3,000. Logically, we look at it, right? We go out and spend a few times, and then we realize it. Holy crap! That's not the right thing to do. My bank's empty, and now I don't have money for food. I probably have to ask my mom and dad, or move in the house if I can't pay the rent. So we haven't been taught, right? We haven't been taught. Um, Same thing with the health. Number three is health, right? We haven't been taught how to look after our health from day one. Like, I don't know which school. I probably have missed all the classes. Yes, there was a physical education. They made us run around everywhere. Some of us hated it, but that's about it, right? So nobody talked to us about the reason why we do everything. So logically, they told us everything, that run around everywhere. It's a good thing, right? Today, right now, if you look at your life, logically, you probably know that you have to go out and move your body at least 30 minutes a day. You have to go to the gym for 30, 40 minutes a day or a week, to have a perfect health. But do you still do it, right? You don't do it, right? You don't do it unless you are work in a physical industry, or unless you have a personal trainer hired, or unless you have some sort of wedding coming up or some sort of date coming up, you don't do it. Right? We don't do it because logically it makes sense to do it, but psychologically we don't do it. So my argument to the entire conversation we're having right now today is to think about that. Logically, you can do marketing as much as you want. In the marketing world, if you are coming from a traditional marketing school, right, any marketing schools being taught by anybody, we always been given this one word, which is, right, return on ad spend, ROAS, right, which is good, right? Logically it makes sense. Hey, if I spend um, dollar at something, I should get at least $2 back, right? At least $2 back, right? Or logically, if I, like for example, from my house to the airport, it takes about 30 minutes to get there, right? From my house to the airport, 30 minutes to get there. So if you're looking at a logical reason, if I want to say, hey, or if some engineer is looking at this problem and the prime minister goes to that, hey, from these suburbs to this part of the world to this airport takes about 30 minutes. We want to reduce the journey for 30 minutes to something else, right? I mean, 20 minutes. The engineer is going to say, hey, we can make it happen. We can really make it happen. It's easy to make it happen, and it's going to cost you altogether is about $580 million. And if you have 3-lane freeway, we're just going to add a new lane here, all the way to the airport. Logically, this is what we would do, right? And this is how the government's been working. Because if you look at it, government will tell you exactly logically how they do it, right? Everywhere. So put a train. Okay, if I want to have more passengers going from A to B, train takes about 1 hour to get there. How do I reduce it? Why do they do that? Because they the reason is they need to look at the waters. Water only look at it. Okay, now they put it on the train. Train's gonna, before it took 60 minutes to get to A to B, now it takes about 50 minutes to get to A to B, right? So my argument to the entire conversation, if I'm having with the government right now, you're looking at problem very differently than actually it is, in real life. Give you an example of this, right? From my house to get to the airport, for example, if I'm catching a plane to the Sydney from Melbourne, it's not just getting to the freeway or getting from A to B. Or if you are a service provider, like you have planes and you say, hey, Melbourne to Sydney takes about 1 hour, 60 minutes to get to the next the city, Melbourne to Sydney, 60 minutes. Let's put a Concorde in the middle, or really faster planes. Let jet a jumbo jet or something and reduce the time for 30 minutes. Right? That's what logically people will look at it. Let's reduce the time for 30 minutes. But now let's look at it logically, or psychologically. Do you have a problem sitting in a plane for an hour or 2 hour if you are getting well entertained? Meaning that you're actually getting entertained in the plane by something, whether you can watch a movie, whether you can work, give you free internet, and you can actually work for 2 hours. Does it actually matter? Most people will say it doesn't actually matter because I get to do my work, right? Most people's problem is not traveling in the plane from A to B. Most people's problem is getting 45 minutes to 1 hour early at the airport, um, and sitting there so that they don't miss the plane. If you work on, look at any airport, we look at it, from Virgin to Tiger to all these airlines, they make you wait for 1 hour or 30 minutes or 40 minutes before that. They tell you exactly arrive early, right? So they tell you exactly to arrive early, and you don't want to miss your plane, and that's why you arrive early. So meaning that 1 hour journey, if I even reduce that to 50 minutes by the putting the better plane and costing me about $500 million, still won't make my life better as a passenger. On the other hand, if the plane, or the company just give me a free internet on the plane where I can actually do my work, I don't need that time to be reduced by 10 minutes. Doesn't actually matter much to me. Or they get me to early flights, right? So rather than waiting at the airport, whenever I show up at the airport, they just say, hey, this plane, you can just hop in any plane. And why wouldn't you do it as a plane company? Now, why Qantas is better? I don't work for any of those companies. None of them are my clients. I'm just saying the reason is when you arrive at the airport for Qantas and you say, hey, I'm a bit early, can I just hop in? And they say, yeah, that's fine. Hop in any plane, right? Why is that? Why is that? Because they want to make sure that every other empty seat in the late plane, which you're supposed to be using but you haven't used and you've gone in the early planes, they could resell that to anybody at a higher price, right? It just makes sense. Logically, it makes sense, but people don't do it. People don't do it, right? So that's why it's really, really important as a marketer to understand this concept. Doesn't matter what you do logically, right? There is a psychological needs of other human beings who are buying your products, who are buying you. If you don't cater for psychological needs, logically people, we spend so much time and money in logical stuff, right? And it's going to be really hard. And the what we talked about earlier, that these things we don't get taught at school. Nobody taught us about health. Nobody taught us about money. Nobody taught us about our relationships. Nobody taught us at school. And if they did, I missed those classes. I spent so much time at the university. So because they haven't taught, we started to kind of believe that the only thing they talked about was logical stuff, very logical. But everything else, which is we need today to live on this planet, um, is these three things: relationships, making money, keeping money, and also health. And none of them work on logic. None of them work on logic, right? Making money doesn't work on logic, because making money, you got to have a relationship with other people. If making money worked with the logic, every engineer, every technology guy would have been billionaire today. Because if that was the logic, right? If logic worked all the time, we all would have been billionaire, right? Whoever is in logical world, right? So I think the argument here is stop looking at the logical perspective at anything, right? We don't, we kind of need to look at it, but we need to stop looking at it, because remember this, logical cannot be. I'll give you an example of this, right? If you're running your Facebook ads and you run for 3 months, right? You keep running your Facebook ads, keep running your Facebook ad, and you get few leads, but nothing happens from those leads, right? Nothing happens. Logically, you might say, hey, my campaign didn't go well, right? Logically, it makes sense to say that. But now consider this. After 3 months, you get a call from somebody saying, hey, I've been getting you ads all the time. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to call you at the time or speak to you at the time, but we're looking for these kind of things. Will you be able to assist us in this? Just for one reason, because they've seen your ad running all the time. They've seen you, they've seen you, they've seen you. It's keep coming up, but they never did that on top of that. Logically, can you tell me exactly if that's going to happen? But it certainly won't happen if there is no ad running, right? So would you class that campaign is a success, or would you class that campaign as not so successful? Right? Depends, right? Same thing what we talked about earlier. If you're a young person, you know that you got to go out and meet other people. You go to nightclubs, you got to get drunk and do all that stuff. What do we do? Or what I used to do, right? So you got to do that, right? So why you do that? Because you know that by doing certain things in certain times during those, you'll have something happening, right? You find somebody um, to live with or have a relationship with. You'll find somebody, but that's the way that things work. But logically, you can't tell exactly when it's going to happen. You don't know that. Logically, you don't know that if you're going to go out and meet certain people, somebody's going to say, hey, do you want to come to Europe with me for a month? I'm just going to travel. Do you want to come along, right? And you like the person, you like the girl, you like the guy, and you're like, holy crap, let's do it. Let's go 1 month, stay there, and we're gonna have a good time. Right? Logically, you can't explain that. So the entire argument for today's conversation is all about logically, you cannot I mean, logically you can talk about certain things, but psychological people, whenever you're working with other people, whenever you're dealing with other people, logical will only take you at certain level. Logical will only take you at certain level, but after that you need to apply the luck theory, the psychological theory, which has to happen. And it only happens when you keep doing logical stuff again and again. Some people will stop the logical stuff when they don't get the results, because what happens is their logical mind looking for logical outcomes. If you put a Facebook ad out there, if you put a campaign out there, you're looking for logical results at the end of the campaign. And sometimes it makes it really, really hard as a marketer, if you're doing it for somebody else, to have this conversation with other people. So I think it's really important for you, whenever you have a conversation with other people, to make them realize that marketing is good for, for certain amount of time that you do it, but you also have to understand the psychology behind people who buying your stuff. You need to understand humans, because whatever you're selling, I'm hope you're selling to somebody out there who is either human. Buying person is a human, whether they buy for their dog, but things are getting bought by humans, right? Not aliens, or not animals, even though animals are using it, but bought by people. And people don't have, or not always look for logic to buy stuff. People just don't look for logic to buy stuff. They justify it to buy it because why they bought it, but they won't buy because of logic. Some of you guys know that you should be in this program. Some of you guys know that you should be in this program. Your psychological mind telling you you should be here. You should be in this program. You should be working with us and letting us help. But logically, you can't define it. Logically, you can't justify it because you already paid somebody else. Logically, you paid somebody else, and now you say, hey, I already paid somebody else. How can I pay this person as well together? It doesn't make sense. Logically, it won't. Logically, it won't make sense. But psychologically, it will make sense because the gut feeling says this is the way I need to do it. Right. So, yeah. So today's conversation is all about pushing those boundaries. And as a marketer, your job is always push those boundaries. Always push those boundaries, right? Always push those boundaries and create new boundaries. And the way these boundaries get pushed to the next level is by changing the way you see the world. By changing the way you see the world. There is no other way. These paradigm shifts has to happen for you to see things differently. This paradigm shift is the most important thing, and that's why we talk about this in our ABS. One of the best thing is you got to be paid for your thinking, and this is what we call thinking. Because remember this, whenever you're going to have a conversation with your clients, they also have these boundaries, beliefs, or certain beliefs which keeping them at certain level. For them to get to the next level, they need to push those boundaries. They need to break those boundaries and create a certain new belief about certain things to get to the next level. It's all about the way you see things. Wayne Dyer said it, for things to change, you got to see or change the way you see things, right? Which is exactly right. So we need to change the way we see things. Logically, you can't define certain stuff. Logically, you can't sometime there is no logic behind certain things, especially with humans. When you're dealing with other human beings, when you're selling your stuff to other human beings, logically you cannot say it. If logic was at the end, all marketers would have been having this ROAS to a certain level. You know, all marketers would have been millionaires or billionaires right now if logic was there, because you can say, hey, this is the ROAS I'm looking for. If I put dollar in, I'll get $4 back. I'm just going to keep putting dollars in, and why would you stop? Logically, it doesn't make sense to stop. You get a loan from other banks. Like, for example, if I tell you that, you know, buy a $10 lottery ticket and win $10,000, would you ever stop? Like, why would you stop if that's the reason? But people stop. If things are working, if anybody talking to you about ROAS and they're saying, hey, we have a system and works the put in dollar in and we give you $4 back, my question to that would be, why would you stop? Like, logically, why would you stop? But they don't do it. Why? Because logically, things don't work. Like, logically makes sense, but they want to keep working, right? So hope this conversation made you think something different, right? So today, as I'm preparing for a marketer's mindset series of stuff, which we're going to talk about at the digital marketing mastery certification program. So I thought I have a conversation with you about certain things which we're going to talk about in that series, um, to make you think a bit differently compared to what the way you're seeing things right now. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for your company, and hope this was useful. All right, speak soon, guys. Thank you. Bye.